Everyone, I'm Luna Matatas. I'm a sex and pleasure educator, and I get the complete joy of answering your questions all about sex, sexuality, pleasure, sex toys through secretpleasuresboutique.com's Ask a Sex Educator series. So this week's question is all about how to initiate sex. Sometimes in relationships, we get used to one person doing the initiating and one person doing the deciding if it's going to happen now or not. And so to be able to refresh that dynamic can not only add confidence to both people, confidence to the person who doesn't normally do the asking, to be able to build that initiation and that support for themselves to deal with possible rejection, to also feel like, oh, like I get to do this thing that's a little bit outside of my comfort zone. And for the person who's used to doing the initiating, they get to feel a little bit desired from a different direction of things. So there's a couple of things you want to think about when you're initiating sex. You want to think about, well, what kind of sex are you initiating? Are we initiating always our go-to sex? Are we initiating penetration? Are we initiating oral sex? Are we initiating sensual sex or doing something that isn't necessarily orgasm oriented? Sometimes people kind of feel like, okay, well, if I initiate sex, it's going to require this much energy or this much time, or maybe they're not in the mood, or what if they're not in the mood for this thing, but I'm in the mood for this thing? So think about all the options and ways that you have available to you to connect with your partner around sex. And so it doesn't necessarily have to involve penetration. It doesn't even necessarily have to involve orgasms. We know that pleasure is a big part of sex, and orgasms are one form of pleasure, but we can also receive intimacy, connection, exploring and playing with our eroticism, relaxation. We get a little bit of stress relief. We get some feel-good hormones going. So there's lots of other benefits to having sex. And when we're thinking about switching up the initiation of sex, we might also think about switching up the goal of that initiation. And sometimes that can take the pressure off of ourselves and our partners to really move towards what's expected or what's always the go-to. It can add a little bit of surprise and delight for your partner. The other thing that some people worry about with initiating sex is that, what happens if I get rejected? What happens if my partner doesn't feel like it? How am I going to feel? Am I going to feel, that I'm not desired, that I'm not attractive? Am I going to feel like I'm a failure at this initiating sex thing? And those are all normal reactions and normal feelings, right? It's okay to have those feelings. What we want to do is be able to navigate that potential fear of rejection or fear of being turned down or fear of disappointment so that it doesn't get in the way of us trying. Because someone who receives your initiation of sex isn't necessarily obligated to be in the mood or to want to do the thing in the moment that you want to do the thing. And so it's always a little bit of a risk that we're putting ourselves out there. And so to kind of think about, well, my goal isn't necessarily just to, achieve sex with my partner. There's also some wonderful things that can be done and we benefit from in the initiation and the communication that happens around sexual conversations, around making our partners feel desired, around making ourselves feel kind of sexy. And so letting go of this pressure to achieve something with our initiation. It really is vulnerable to put yourself out there and to express a desire. And you can even be cute and awkward and say that to your partner. You can say, babe, I'm kind of trying something new here and I'm a little bit shy about it and I'm not sure how it's going to be received. No pressure on you. But, I'd like to express my desire this time. I want to be able to initiate sex and flirt with you and see if it can take us somewhere sexual. And putting that out there is so vulnerable. It's so honest. And it also allows you to connect over being able to support each other in trying new things. So I have a couple of ways for you to try to initiate sex a little bit differently and to play with how we express desire. And, one thing I want to also put out there is that if you plan for sex, if you say to each other, hey, you know what? Once a month, we're going to take turns planning a specific sex date for each other. So this date is your date, this date is my date, and we're each going to be responsible for initiating and creating some sort of seduction, sexy date for each other. Planning doesn't mean that it's any less sexy. Planning doesn't mean that you don't have a good orgasm. Planning doesn't mean that you don't get to be confident and intimate and erotic with your partner and yourself. A lot of times we think that spontaneity has to be the sexiest, most passionate way to have sex, but we forget that even when our relationships were completely new and we were all riding that new relationship energy, there was still planning and preparation, right? You groomed yourself before sex, you got a little bit excited, you texted to find out the details, you made some plans. And so it's okay. It's okay if one of the ways that you initiate sex is through planning, is through making a date, is through the shared responsibility of the making each other feel sexy. A couple of other ways that you can try, in addition to sharing your awkwardness about trying to initiate sex, you can develop a little coupon system. So make little coupons where you have a coupon book of things that the other person wants to do. And so all you have to do the next time you want to initiate sex is sort of pull out the coupon and be like, babe, I have a coupon for you. And it could say oral on it. It could say, we're going to play with toys tonight. It could say, I just want to do you, or I want to lie naked with you. I want to make out with you. And that kind of helps for those of us that get kind of tongue-tied when we're trying to articulate our sexual desires. So you can kind of plan ahead, do a little bit of writing, and create these little books, and then share them with each other. Another one is to offer a no pressure, no expectation way of initiating a sexual experience that doesn't necessarily have to lead to what you both consider sex. And so that could be something like, babe, I would love to give you a massage. I'm kind of in the mood to touch and be with you. And are you open to that? And a massage could be a hand massage. It could be a scalp massage. It could be a foot massage. And that helps someone kind of say like, okay, I want to connect with you. I want to be intimate. I don't know if I'm in the mood for sex, but I'm going to receive this thing that you're offering. So think about using those moments to also build connection with each other, to build anticipation around the things that we like to receive sexually or sensually, but that they don't have to be limited only for sex-driven times, that we still find each other desirable and we want to be affectionate with each other and we want to turn each other on, even if we're not necessarily going to have sex right that night. Another cute idea is to do an online shopping date. And so you could say, babe, I've been thinking about some new toys for our collection. Do you want to grab a glass of wine or some tea and sit in front of our laptop and look at, some fun toys that we could potentially use together? And so this gets your erotic imagination going, gets you talking about things that you might like to try or to see the other person try for you. And so that builds up also this idea of bringing up sexual content, sexual situations, sexual fantasies. And it makes it a little bit easier to then say like, oh, I'm kind of turned on. Like, how are you feeling? Like, do you want to do the thing? Do you want to do something? And so it lays the foundation for you. These are all like little breadcrumbs that help you generate sexual moods and sexual intentions. And then that makes it a little bit easier rather than coming in cold and just starting to touch your partner with the intention of like, well, I want to have sex with you. I want to have an orgasm with you. So creating these sexual moments together can also build your confidence in initiating sex, because the rejection still lands you somewhere wonderful. It still lands you in a place where you were communicating, where you're bringing each other pleasure and connection and delight without necessarily that pressure. Now, let's say you are in the mood for something super sexy. You want to get it on right now. I want you to redefine the idea of quickie. And so sometimes quickies are like, okay, well, one person gets penis and vagina, or one person gets oral. And so think about like, well, is a quickie, could it be the person that doesn't normally get oral gets oral? Could it be analingus? Could it be playing with someone's breast? Could it be fingering someone until they orgasm and all the attention is about them? And so when we think about redefining what we consider quickies, we get so many many more opportunities to actually initiate sex. When you broaden that idea of what sex and sexual connection is, there's way more little places that you can find pleasure within your day-to-day interactions with each other. And finally, you can just say to your partner, hey babe, I'm feeling kind of sexy. Are you in the mood for something? And if they say, well, I don't know, like, maybe you could kind of get me in the mood, or my mind's not in the mood, or I'm tired, you could ask, well, oh, is there anything that I could do for you? Is there anything that I could do to bring you in the mood? Can I seduce your mind? And so if they've left a little bit of an opening for you to bring in some seduction, that's a yes. That allows you to bring in sexual energy into the moment and into the dynamic. And so it practices for both of you being really authentic about where you're at and what kind of sex and what kind of attention you would like to receive. So I hope you go out there and practice honoring your own desires and using your words in a way that's empathetic to your partners and where they're at, and also for your partners to welcome new opportunities to connect with you in different ways and keep things spicy and interesting for each other. So again, I'm Luna Matatas, and I will see you on another Ask a Sex Educator question at secretpleasuresboutique.com, and have a wonderful time practicing these new skills.